On to another This Week in Crypto episode. This, I believe, is the last of the year because our team will be taking a short break after Christmas, but we'll try to jam pack as much info into this show as we can. Crypto is still declining on the week by week basis, even though today it's looking fairly even. There's been a few reasons. We had the CPI report with another buy the rumor, sell the news effect. There continues to be a little bit of retail buying, which is not exactly what we want to see. We need to see retail really starting to show fear and impatience. And every time it looks like they're starting to get there, something seems to draw them back in, whether it's a quick rebound back to 90K for Bitcoin, some encouraging news, Michael Saylor saying something. Even though he's getting kind of memed right now, there's a lot of different factors at play at the moment, and we'll try to look into a lot of the data today. Maksim should be joining in a bit, and I look forward to hearing his thoughts as well. But to start out, just taking a look at some of the price returns, we see Bitcoin down almost 5% on the week, Ethereum down almost 9% on the week, and then you have a few huge drops like Leo down almost 23%, Hype 18, BitTensor 23%, just to name a few. Monero being an outlier, up 5%. Privacy coins continue to get a little bit of an extra boost lately, even though Zcash right next to it still declining after its enormous run in October and November. In terms of social volume, not a lot to see here. Bitcoin and Ethereum kind of just hovering compared to a week ago, getting about the same amount of discussion. Binance coin, a huge boost. XRP, a nice jump as well. USD coin, a little bit. And yeah, Tron doubled in social volume as well. And then in terms of the overall market cap, it dropped by about 6%. Volume did rise by about 2%. So we're still getting plenty of trading, but it's not resulting in positive growth for market cap just yet. In terms of some of the main metrics, starting with Bitcoin, and I will be getting to Ethereum because as you saw in the title, we're going to be looking at, the mild ascension of Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. Just to give you some context, if we look at the last day, you'll see Ethereum is up about 1% while Bitcoin's down 1%. Barely a blip, I understand, but there is some signs just in my early morning, some of your afternoons and evenings, that altcoins are kind of making a run while Bitcoin is sitting in a flat zone. We've seen several moments like this in history, and I don't expect that this is going to be a major altcoin breakout, but altcoins have been so hammered this year, looking at the last 30 days even, just seeing how much blood in the streets there was while Bitcoin only dropped about 4%, tells us that if Bitcoin can at least stabilize, maybe sit in this high 80Ks, make it to 90K again, it's going to allow a lot of money to move back into altcoins if institutionals decide they're comfortable enough to start pushing up prices, some of those algos fire off, things like that. So something to keep in mind. Now going back to the metrics here, beginning with Bitcoin, and I'll do Ethereum next, transaction volume is showing some decline since that big spike in November. We talked about the bottom signal that we were looking for. Thanks for putting that announcement out, Max. I was kind of hustling to get all my slides ready. But yeah, you can see transaction volume still kind of sliding right now. We're not seeing anything too depressing, but it's enough for us to be a little concerned that there's not quite enough utility. If we look at daily active addresses, yes, there is quite a decline going on. Again, not enormous, but enough for us to have some concern there. Circulation also dropping. In fact, the past few days have been some of the lowest over the past quarter. And then network growth is at least kind of stable. So we're seeing a normal amount of new wallets being created on a daily basis. In terms of MVRV, the 30-day MVRV is sitting right at the flat zone at about 0.3%. Totally fine. The 365-day MVRV, though, is in the negative range, which is good. That means that if you're buying on your position, adding onto it, this is a time when you'd be doing so while the crowd or your peers in trading are in negative range. So you want to be in while others are in pain. You don't want to be in when they're heavily in profit like we saw during the all-time high. Funding rate, notice there's a bit of an increase going on here with Bitcoin seeing a bit more longs than usual. Not quite ideal. You can see all the bunched up longs that were similar right before the all-time high hit, and then we dropped down and started seeing shorts like we should have. And even throughout this drop, you know, since late November, over the past month, past 4 weeks or so about, all these shorts were sprinkled in, especially on BitMEX. You can see they're pretty prominent. While I have BitMEX hovered, notice how there haven't really been any short days in the past 3-4 days or so. We want to continue to see plenty of people betting against the price because those liquidations from prices going up while shorts are happening will add rocket fuel to prices being able to rebound quickly. In terms of Binance, yeah, that's where we see the big long happening, at least right now. And usually when we see these big longs, it leads to a short-term disappointment swing. It's not an extreme level of longing. You know, we've seen prices be able to jump up while, you know, the funding rate is at like even like it is now, 0.01. But it is a slight skew toward longs, and ideally we need to see them sit in shorts, especially when both Binance and BitMEX are shorting at the same time. That's usually the optimal sign like we saw around here. Whale transactions. So we see the amount of $1 million or more, $1 million or more transfers happening on a daily basis. That's dropped off a little bit. This doesn't mean they're accumulating or dumping. We'll get to that. But it does mean that whales are a little less active. You saw a bit of a boost, though, a couple days ago. 4,394 on the 17th was the highest day since November 20th. So you're looking at about a 4-week high there. So yes, they're still going to have these jumps, especially when, you know, we have, you know, the Fed drop, like, or Fed interest rate drop like it did last week, or the CPI report, which we'll get to. And then whale transactions for 100K or more, that's been more declining on a pretty regular basis. No big anomaly like we saw with the $1 million or more. So this told me that there was some very, very large whales that were interacting a couple days ago on the network, while the smaller whales, if you will, are not as active. We'll get to the supply distribution in a moment when we look at whale accumulation or dumping. In terms of mean dollar invested age, yeah, we saw the big drop here. Our theory is that this was mostly just related to some Coinbase wallet cycling. So it's a bit misleading that you see a big drop in the mean dollar invested age. It just meant that some older wallets moved to some newer ones, and it didn't really have an effect on price because they weren't, you know, true organic whale moves. They were indicative of some coins moving back into circulation. It was coins moving from one wallet on an exchange to another wallet on an exchange. And then supply and exchanges, this is a bit of a concern. Since December 9th, over the past 10 days, I'm going to hold down shift here and drag to the right. We do see that there's been an increase of about 17,724, 725 BTC moving back to exchanges in total when factoring in net moves on and off. So that's moving back up. The supply overall went from 6.03% on exchanges back up to 6.12%. Take that for what you will. The last time we did see a rise like this, yes, we saw a big drop in tandem. So this is one of my biggest concerns. Not every single price trajectory follows, you know, what we just saw in mid-November. But, you know, taking some recency aside, there is some concern there. If we go back like a year and compare some other mild upswings, like this, for example, this was in mid-July, and we saw a bunch moving right at the top. That wasn't ideal. This one here in mid-August, we saw a big downswing as supply was moving back. That wasn't ideal either. But you can also see like here in June, when supply and exchanges was really low, below 6%. And yes, we saw an initial drop, but as supply and exchanges continued to rise, price did. So there are several exceptions, and there's a reason we don't call supply and exchanges one of the top, immediate alpha metrics like we would with, say, whale accumulation or MVRV performance, things like that. Social dominance. Look at this interesting drop off. I'm actually quite fascinated by how low it's gotten here in December. I think part of this is due to some increased XRP and Ethereum talk, things like that. Some other large caps that
USDT. It was Theta talks.
Oh, hello, Maksim.
Hello.
Which asset? I still didn't hear.
No. I mean, if I remember correctly, there was a very strong inflow of conversation about Theta.
Yes, I think that is very true. If we can confirm that too, just to see if Tether had the big jump that I believe we both saw. It's been a while since I looked at Tether's actual metrics.
No, yeah, because the metrics
huge. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks for coming on to mention that. So yeah, social dominance for Tether.
Something.
Yeah,
like many things.
Yep, totally right. And just to finish off, guys, for the Bitcoin metrics, and then I'm going to ask Maksim how he's doing and what he's been seeing in the markets. Weighted sentiment, for what it's worth, is we did see the huge negative spikes down here in mid-November when it was ultra fear mode, but it has kind of rested back up here. We'll look at sentiment in a bit so we can check out the positive versus negative commentary. Development activity, I don't pay too much attention to Bitcoin in general, but others do matter. RSI is a little below 50, so that is a good thing for you TA traders out there. And then look at total amount of holders. This is one of the good signs because it is showing that there's some FUD and some impatience, people dropping out of crypto a little bit, crawling back down.
To see it more clearly, can you take 6 months time frame?
Yeah, I'll just drag from June or so.
Yeah. Oh, indeed.
So
indeed. Okay.
We can see since just the last 3 days, there's been a drop of about 42,000 or so total wallets that have coins in them. That's a good sign. We want to see people dropping off, not because we're rooting against Bitcoin being used, but because we want to see the crowd starting to show impatience, especially when the price is dropping like it has been. Because that is a sign of FUD and a sign that retailers, which make up most of this line, have had enough of Bitcoin and crypto. Now that's the main metrics for Bitcoin. We're still going to look at Ethereum and some other stuff, but I'm going to take a pause here and say hi to Maksim and ask you, my friend, what's been going on with your analysis? What have you been seeing over the past week that's been sticking out to you?
That's definitely a good question. I'm not able to provide a very good answer yet. As for analysis, it does seem very close to finish movement down. But I was just checking when you were explaining, showing plenty of good metrics, some channels. I haven't seen capitulation in a sense how it fit the final bottom. It's more, I haven't checked all of the channels, but in one particular quite crowd dominated or retail dominated channel, they're mostly discussing, okay, Bank of Japan cut rates and bears got caught and now we'll continue up from here. Pity. If I would see something different, I would call very confidently bottom. But this kind of statements, not what I want to see. So sorry for not giving any clear, simple answer. we need to dive into a few more things. Yeah.
No, that's quite all right.
It will become simpler. From reading just one, it was just one channel. Maybe we can look into our aggregated social metrics, typical stuff, lower, higher, and also supply distribution for Bitcoin holders. But from that channel alone, I would say, okay, we can go higher, just to make people even more confident and relaxed. And then we do try to break. What was the previous bottom for Bitcoin? 74, 75,000? I don't remember.
Yeah, it depends how far back you go. If we
No,
just
I
look at
mean
the
the
last-
recent one. The recent one.
Oh, right here in mid-November, we got to.
No,
I thought it
okay,
was-
not right here. The one which was left on your screen. Yeah, this one. 70.
It depends. I can zoom in a little bit, and
Anyway,
if we
around
really
70. I think we didn't touch 70, but yeah.
74-ish.
It looks very
Yeah.
tempting to at least come even closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as being behavior analyst, I always, as a researcher, as a scientist in this sense, I'm looking forward for market to go to this area, as it will provide now as a trader potentially very good setup based on reaction of people. As I say, if we go slightly below this level. So what is the reaction? Yeah, finally heavy panic, very good. Or statements like, okay, we just test it out and we'll recover, not so good. So this is a summary. As I see now, we slightly go higher and then we try to retest 74. But let's analyze more data. I might change my opinion. I'm easy to adjust to the data I see, or even if I read more. I haven't read Twitter for 2 or 3 days because
You're
traveling.
not missing much. Lots of
Yeah.
toxicity and
I don't miss
memes
much
as
of it.
always. No. It's some price analysis here and there, but it's a lot of very impatient people and people quick to pounce on others right now. So I can tell the mood is a bit negative on there at the moment, but it's according to the data, the
Okay, yeah.
positive-
Let's see into
Yeah.
the data, because as you know, actually I haven't shared with you yet. I think not in details. When we met with the team in Sofia, we discussed in details all the social metrics. Right? You and Maksim, another Maksim, asked me to analyze and ask how exactly few pieces are built. I know I have the answers now, and it's
Oh, good.
weighted sentiment, for instance, and for others who are on the stream, we can build it now many versions, different versions. Anyway, it will be too technical, but what we have so far, it's quite strong. We just need to use several of them. Yeah, better what we use positive, negative, weighted sentiment. Bullish, bearish is also okay, but better wait. There is some upgrade going on. So let's start with our big data social analytics. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so we're looking at just the positive versus negative sentiment for now. I've hid the bullish bearish until we have a concrete explanation of how we're calculating that. But it does look similar now from what it's worth. So this does kind of match both metrics for now. Based on positive versus negative sentiment, there's about a 1.29 to 1 ratio of positive versus negative comments about Bitcoin. So that's landing pretty much in the middle of the zone at the moment.
Weighted sentiment?
Weighted sentiment was looking just slightly negative. I'll show that. Whoops. So here's weighted sentiment just slightly below the 0 axis at the moment.
The formula between weighted sentiment, it's made in a way it tracks kind of like volatility of sentiment readings. So the most, and we see it from the chart actually quite obvious, the strongest signals when we see this very big spikes. The current readings means that in the last, if I remember correctly, 90 days, it takes average for the last 90 days of sentiment readings. and take the current trading as a Z-score, so it's like deviation from it. So the current sentiment, you can see clearly, the way this metric is built, there is no extremes. So it's indeed slightly negative, but on a scale of the signal, it's noise. However, if we take this bullish bearish, it's made very differently. Yeah, bullish, not bullish bearish. Sorry, positive negative. What you say? It's a little bit more telling story that indeed it did recover into positive territory. So we can ignore this negative reading from weighted sentiment because it's more like a negative deviation. So if you want to see the real mood, we take positive negative. It's positive, but it's not extreme positive. Yeah, it's more like it's positive, but not as a positive as before. That's why in weighted sentiment it shows as negative. I mean, if it doesn't make sense, it's maybe mind breaking. Took me some time to understand too. But current reading, they are positive, but people are already less positive than, let's say, a few weeks before, which is not a bad sign. But what do you want? You typically want people to be really negative. If we get it, well, we got it. You see this strong dump in the positive negative readings right on this chart, like a few times. This is what I want to see.
Yeah, the last time we went super negative was in early December here, and we did see a jump right after. Then they went positive and we fell. So that's exactly what you would expect.
Can you do overlay, like also enable weighted sentiment? Yes. Yeah. I think from now on, we probably have to, even though it's difficult to read. And I think for most people on the stream or later on, if you're brought to this chat, it's difficult to read. But for us internally, I want to train my mind, and maybe then algos, they have to be used together. Seems like the strong on both sides, red and yellow down. Yeah, very good sign. And this yellow heavy drop. This yellow heavy drop was negative enough to continue growth. Yeah, but statistically, it was not extremely strong signal.
Yeah, you do see the three most negative spots here.
Yeah.
In mid-October, that was when Trump made the comments about China tariffs.
It's the first one when you say there is some range of how mood is moving, let's say mildly positive, but negative. This one get out of the range. Yeah, so we notice it. And just keep in mind this, our current weight is in how it's built, yeah? Using formulas and new charts, as I said, we can build ourselves. I think it takes specific amount of days, so it only tracks back as a 60 or 90 days. In the last 90 days, in October, 11 October, this was the strongest negative impact on the market. Yeah. And well, the price moved heavily down too. So I think it did play at least 50% to the mood, maybe even more. Yeah. But there are on these readings, it's which is good. That's why this weighted sentiment is so good, interesting. For instance, I think it's 29th of October or end of October. You see this strong spike up?
End of October, yeah, right here.
Yes, that was a very strong sign for upcoming punishment and reversal, because it's very strong. Yeah, it's very strong. It means it's a lot of volume, majority positive on a scale of last 90 days. And this everything being generally in decline, yeah, this is a very good sign. But now when we are now, we'll have to write a different formula. The swings of crowd mood have been so strong that it will be not easy to make it even stronger. That's why what we see on weighted sentiment, it's a kind of barely moving, because accumulated history in the last 90 days, it was like full of volatility, right? 10th of October crash, or like Trump statements, I don't know, this price unexpected in US law, very heavy movements. So what we are doing now, what people experience, doesn't seem to be so strong. So in generally, unless we change this formula to track on the last 30 days, for instance, yeah, or we can say, yeah, or last 2 weeks, then we better flip to positive, negative, this yellow line, because it's doesn't take that score. It's just simply how many in percentage positive to negative. As simple as that, straightforward. Yeah, so maybe let's switch off for a moment weighted sentiment and stick back to positive, negative. Yeah. Okay. Good. How thing look for Ethereum? Because once you said we're going to the stream, can Ethereum lead the pump? I say, oh, interesting. So, do you see some signs? Or
Yeah, there's a few
why?
reasons, mainly on chain, and I'll look at that in a moment.
Okay.
In terms
Okay.
of sentiment, it looks pretty normal. In fact, there's maybe
Yeah.
even a
Not
slightly
extreme.
positive bias. But let's look at I'll just use this chart here, and I'll create it really quick. Supply distribution. We'll look at the balance of addresses. And when we look at the big key stakeholders, so these are almost all the small guys, but looking at the 1,000 to 10,000,
Yeah.
I'll just do them all together, 10,000, 100, and 100 to a million, we're noticing there's a bit of a rise, especially on the blue and the red ones. I'll just merge all three so you can see them together. And I'll add on price. And we notice it kind of bottomed out here about 1 month ago. And ever since, it's actually been rising a bit. I'll make this a candle so it's easier to distinguish. So here we go. Huge drop off following the all-time highs right here on October 6th. That was for Bitcoin, the all-time high. It didn't quite get to an all-time high for Ethereum, but it got close at about 4,700. Notice the huge drop off. Prices immediately fell. This orange line definitely has some alpha to it. And since then, we've seen this climb and the price at a slight bearish divergence like that. So when I see...
You're very nicely trained eye. You see so small things. Okay.
Well, it's
I
skewed
got your
because
point.
of the
I see
big
what you mean.
drop here. But I mean, if I just zoom in a little more, it's
Yeah, I
going to be
understand.
more apparent. Yeah.
So, but
So
it means important now would be this growing slope. Need to keep it here.
Right.
Yeah. It usually goes like in a range. If you want typically channel pattern you apply to price action, I think you can apply it at least as support line accumulation pattern to this metric too. Yeah. Still, I wish we maybe it was still a little bit. My most capital is also in Ethereum. I still have a little bit left, and I'm still waiting or testing lower to 8, to 7, to 6. I got no idea if I get it. So that's why my maybe subconscious bearish pattern. Yeah. And separately also, if taking Elliott waves, it doesn't look like the fifth way down is fully finished, but it's another story. Yeah, I see what your point. Okay, this one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
But-
on the smart money side, it definitely looks like there is some accumulation going on. And this is the percent of the overall supply too. It's just not overall coins. So the
Yeah.
smart money is objectively taking from the smaller wallets. If we
How
just go,
smaller wallets behave?
so if we look at just 0.1 or less, they're going way down. If we go 0.1 all the way up to 1,000, they're going way down as well. So here's the really small, and then here's kind of the small all the way to the dolphins
Okay.
and sharks even. And they're all going down, while the large ones, at least the million or 1K to a million, they're going up. And that kind of excludes the ultra large, liquidity providers on Binance and stuff, theoretically. So to me, this is a positive sign.
Okay. Do we have more of these positive signs? I think.
More positive signs for Ethereum. So I'm going to show you a few things on the main metrics. One thing I notice is the network growth has had a bigger rise. Bitcoin we looked at right before you joined the call, Maksim, and it looks very flat. But let's just look at the last year of on-chain and take a look at, we'll start with just network growth by itself. Oops, there we go. So since really May, the network was averaging about 115K new wallets per day. And now it's up to about 151K wallets per day, just looking at a 50-day moving average, including two big spikes. Here we saw almost 200,000 new addresses created on December 2nd.
Yeah,
And just a couple days ago, another almost 200,000 network growth day. And remember, the bull rally started back in mid-June when a lot of people were really writing off Ethereum. And we were saying, oh, it's so negative here. Nobody's believing in Ethereum anymore. We suddenly get this massive network growth spike, which I talk about, or we put in the AI video, the first AI video we did. We talked about this signal where prices go down and you suddenly see a huge spike. Generally a pretty good sign, not always, but a good sign that something might be brewing. And sure enough, it just blasted off Ethereum for this 2-month huge bull rally where it doubled in price. And then it kind of got stagnant here. But all of a sudden, we see another big spike right after the big decline in price. And it does appear to be growing. This is the highest 50-day moving average of the year for new wallets being created for Ethereum. Call that DeFi or staking or something else. I fully know that Ethereum has the most overall wallets with coins in them because of DeFi and staking and other things. But nevertheless, we're comparing Ethereum's network growth to itself here, and it's been growing throughout the past 6 months.
Okay, then network growth good. Let's look into daily active addresses. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so daily active addresses, not as good. I mean, we saw the biggest spike here in late July, and it's gone down ever since. But it's still up significantly since it was really getting ignored in April. So
well,
kind
also
of
the price is still higher too, to be honest. We are not 1.5. That was, I remember the bottom 1.5. I remember the pain. So.
And now we're at 2,900. So yes, we're almost double what we were in April.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we're still seeing negative long-term MVRV. So they're at negative 9%. So there's room to grow. We're no longer in this range of long-term positive gains for the average traders because prices went up so much back here. That's now gone. Funding rates are showing a bit more negativity. Let me zoom in here a little. So still some shorts going on, at least as of yesterday. Bitcoin hasn't seen any shorts since the beginning of the week, but at least on it's Binance. Yeah, we saw some shorting sprinkled in. So people are still showing some disbelief there. Declining amount of whale transactions. I don't think that means anything, good or bad. And lots of realized losses going on without really any profits. And then unlike Bitcoin, the supply and exchanges is staying very low. We just looked at how Bitcoin is seeing something more that looks like this. It's going back up right now, but Ethereum's still staying at about 5.1% on exchanges with only about 8.14 million supply on exchanges, which is significantly lower than the 11.39 just 3 months ago. So the amount of supply on exchanges has dropped by about 28.5% over just the past 3 months.
True. So listeners and us need to remind ourselves, you see this strong move, it might have been moved to yet unknown exchange belonging wallet. Some exchanges now doing service for big holders traders or institutions that you do kind of in a separated self-custody. I learned about and actually considering to use it too. It means you still trade on exchange, but money moved in a separate custody so that whatever happens in exchange, it doesn't affect your money. So it might be one of those events we're seeing on the screen. I'm not sure about it, but it's possible. Still, yeah, continue. It's
There's one other, I'm trying to find the chart. I posted it somewhat recently on our Twitter feed, X feed. Let me check. Give me one moment, guys. This is important if I can find it. Okay, here, this will work. So if we just look at the amount of mentions of lower versus higher for specifically Bitcoin.
It's special sentiments alpha.
Yep. So this is just looking at Bitcoin. And look at the amount of people who all of a sudden called for lower on this bottom yesterday and on this bottom on the 15th. And then on this top, notice how people are calling for higher. They've pretty much gotten every single one of these completely wrong, which is expected. That's why this is such a good signal. So they called for a sell-off. They were selling off right at the beginning of the month. Then they got greedy after it rose. That caused the top. Then they, even right here, this was a bottom, this was a top, this was a bottom, mini top, mini bottom.
So what I see, Brian, we also need to keep expectations and be honest to listeners. The strong signals seems to be when it's almost like double of size. Yes, there is a coincidence and correlation for other movements, but statistically signal has to be strong, and we do see them, these double readings. It requires patience, to see them. For instance, what you mentioned, it's true, they got greedy, but it's not double. It's true, the bottoms are after, what was it? 5th of December, I think, 5th? Yeah, 5th of December.
This is 15th, yeah?
No, 5th of December.
Oh, back here?
Yeah, but it's not double, it's not a signal,
Right, it's barely peeking over.
So probably using this metric, I would miss it, which is okay. You cannot catch all single. If you're trying to catch every single tops and bottoms, you will be in big troubles. This kind of trading, systematic, has to be done systematically correct too, with models and everything. As we're doing here, visual analysis to do decisions from time to time once we recognize the pattern. So for this metric, for this setup, we need to look for strong difference between blue and red candles. And we have them. Even on this time frame, it's 1 month here. Yeah, looks like 1 month. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 of them, which is cool, indeed.
Yeah, the good news is I've been talking with the team, and pretty soon, I'm not going to give a date yet, we're going to have this much easier to read because we can divide and use one simple ratio, just like we do on Sandbase. And this will be like a positive versus negative, but on steroids, like much more effective. So we can see when this is double, lower is double the amount of higher, or higher is double the amount of lower.
Okay, cool.
And that'll be amazing.
Anabolic sentiment, I see.
Anabolic sentiment, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So
modern age, modern metrics,
Exactly. So we're looking at least right now, as Maksim said, when the blue is way above red or red is way above blue, those are the perfect counter signals for a chart like this. Now, this is only Bitcoin. We asked about Ethereum, so we're going to compare and see how strong of signals we can find for the number 2 asset in crypto. Oops. if I can spell ETH correctly. All right, here we go. So somewhat similar.
Somewhat similar, yeah.
Blues just dominating back here in late November. I got to make sure to switch the price as well. Shouldn't change much. Still a bottom here, still a top here. This was the big top on December 9th.
You see?
And it's been, yep.
Yeah. No, finish. I see interesting thing here, yeah.
It looks like it's been mixed for most of the last week. I do see maybe just a slight bias toward lower, even though price has been rising.
Maybe we'll have a chance to see 2.6 for Ethereum, to see the big blue candle. We'll see.
Exactly. Yeah.
What I wanted to see, Ethereum behaves a little bit different. I'm looking now at where red candle is much higher than the blue one. It seems like it does coincide with a kind of top, but there is one marginally higher top. You see 2 times in the 26th of November was the same strong spike and some movement, and then one final spike and then crash. Yeah,
Right.
26. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it does coincide. It's correlation, but then for whatever reason, Ethereum, it pushes one more time, marginally higher, and then crashes. And it's the same on the 9th of December.
Yep. Right here. That was the
Very
perfect top.
Behaves differently, at least at the current stage. There might be flipping roles. We probably need to look into Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. Which one is leading the market? Is it now more Bitcoin-led market or Ethereum-led market? So there might be flipping roles. Who shows this behavior? But it's very interesting and important to know. Because if we exiting part of position in Ethereum on the big red candles like here, or signal based on the big red candles, and then we see market going higher, there's a very strong FOMO. But it's okay. You need to stick to your game plan because it happens here, at least according to what I see on the screen.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we've got some nice social signals popping up right now. Since we're getting toward the end of the call, Maksim, I did want to mention what you said about the Japan rate hike.
Yes.
It's sitting here at the number 3 spot on our social trending stories right now. And yes, almost all the rate hikes that dominate the news are about the US, but raising interest rates is always a concern for a major economy like Japan. And obviously they're combating persistent inflation and signals continued tightening in 2026. So that is a big discussion. Obviously the CPI inflation came in here in the US below what was expected. And that's actually the lowest since 2021. So that should theoretically be a very bullish result. As we've seen though, when the news first breaks, it usually sees an opposite reaction. Retail gets spooked and then they jump out and prices go up. That kind of happens with some of the Fed rate cuts. So we'll see if that plays out. I think this is a very bullish sign though. Inflation has been such a concern here in my country that it has suppressed some of the economy and kept people's expectations tempered. Yeah. And then, this is, I think, just a small altcoin piece of news. The US Senate confirming another pro-crypto advocate is a big story, winning by a 53-43 vote. So C-League is now confirmed chairman. Trump Media announced a $6 billion all-stock merger with TAE Technologies. This is more on the equity side of things, but they are major investors, including Alphabet. The deal shifts Trump Media from social media to clean energy and financial assets, aiming to capitalize on Fusion Power's potential. And then on the bottom, on the bottom half, we don't see anything too exciting.
Okay.
The Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs saw a lot of outflows yesterday. So that's something to keep an eye on. Generally, I think that's a good thing these days because inflows and outflows are much more dominated by retail than it was when ETFs first came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's more like a following signal or like lagging signal. Yeah.
It is a
Or
lagging signal.
Lagging indicator.
Yes.
Or
So
controllers.
outflows tend to happen after the prices drop. That's essentially what Maxim is saying, and I completely agree. And then we saw this one. 7 whales recently increased their positions in Solana, signaling renewed interest in mixed market conditions. Several altcoins like ZRC, Beat, and Hamster are showing strong momentum, attracting traders seeking quick gains. So yes, outlier spikes happening all over the place. We've talked about altcoins being able to push without Bitcoin being able to jump. Part of that is just regression to the mean. Going back, this is what most of the year has looked like. Bitcoin being around even and most altcoins getting hit a lot harder.
You mean last month, not the last year?
Yeah, this is just the last month, but I'm saying throughout the past year, most altcoins are down. We don't have an option here, but if we just did like a price comparison, which I can do here, I have a template
when you
for
wrote,
that.
the reason I was laughing when I read 7 whales, it sounded almost like 7 samurais.
The 7 samurai whales, have been.
Or in this sense, dangerously close to 7 suicidal samurais.
Exactly.
Increase your position in meme coins. Even though I thought there was Ethena. Right? Anyway, let's come back. It was just funny. See 7 whales.
Yeah.
Sounds like a name of the movie. 7 whales accumulated meme coins. Okay.
And to be honest, 7 whales isn't the most significant piece of data anyways. If it was more like 70 or dozens, it would be more significant. But
but it would be so fun.
Yeah.
7 whales sounds more funny.
But yeah, like if I just take a moment of time, like since the all-time high, right at October 6th, Bitcoin's down about 30%, Ethereum down 36%. But look at XRP down 37. Cardano's lost 57% of its market cap. There's a lot of altcoins. If I were to compare like the next 50 altcoins that look a lot like XRP and Cardano in that range of like down 40 to down 60% just in the past 2.5 months. So there is an argument for regression to the mean that if Bitcoin can stabilize, stay around 90K, we could see a bit of a mini altcoin rally. I've seen some signs looking at things like this, just volume comparison. There's a bit of a pickup, like just.
Seems interesting. Okay, I didn't see this before. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since I showed it, but Bitcoin's volume has gone down. Ethereum has more maintained itself. Binance coin is actually moving up. Solana is not really declining. It's moving up over the past month. These are weekly bars, by the way, so this is very zoomed out.
Weekly bars, okay.
Yeah. It's hard to see the others, but they aren't really falling quite the way Bitcoin is. The volume is at least staying stable for a lot of other top cap altcoins. And I can't go through 100 of these, but I do see that there could be some signs of altcoins getting a bit of traction. I'm not going to predict anything, obviously, but this is a big if. If Bitcoin stays in the 88 to 93K range or so, watch altcoins over the next week and we'll see as we get toward Christmas, and we'll still be doing insights up until Christmas, whether some alts are starting to show, some isolated breakouts, a plus 12% surge for Solana out of the blue, plus 15% for Chainlink, stuff like that. I've seen this pattern before. And if Bitcoin
many times. Many times.
And if it stays neutral, good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Good. By the way, Brian, when you mentioned Christmas, do we have it next Friday?
I don't think so. I think I may take a few off days there. We'll talk offline about it, but for those watching, call it like a 25% chance. I will have one other video coming out demonstrating our new Sandbase though before Christmas, so you'll see that. Up to you, Maxim, though, if you want to run one with or without me.
Most likely, I will also take at least a few days off. I cannot take completely off, but have something to explore here in Switzerland too. And the reason I was asking, I have a kind of current feeling, and I wanted to follow up on it, so we make an anchor for us. So what I would expect now, no prediction, just my expectation. We are hovering around current level, maybe spike a bit higher. I want to revisit it lower. On many things I saw. Also high and lower mentions here. There is no extreme readings which I would like to see to deploy my last free capital and then just see how it goes even lower. classical condition. Yeah, and we'll see where it will be next week and month.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing your theory, and it'll be interesting to see how the year closes. I've talked about it on a few previous calls with our partners, but usually late December isn't a great time for crypto. I think a lot of the crowd knows that. The thing that they're missing is most years in crypto, we see positive gains over the period of the last 15 years, 17 years, however many Decembers there have been in crypto. So usually there's a bit of like profit taking for tax purposes or whatnot. We don't have profit taking this year. Yes, plenty of people.
Where is the profits?
Exactly. There are some people who have made money in crypto this year. It was not a horrible year. But if we just go back, since the start of 2025, Bitcoin's down 5.5%. So yes, there are people who've made a profit, but this isn't one of those years where Bitcoin went up 300% and all of a sudden you see a bunch of whales taking money out of their accounts, selling off so that they can fit into the right tax brackets and pay the least amount of money to taxes.
I see.
So there is an argument that the end of December could actually be good because people want to load up prior to next year. Take that as you will, but I don't think this will be one of those. If Bitcoin does go down, it's not going to be because institutionals are, trying to cash out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take this week, my friend. I don't have much else today, but
that's good. Good. I enjoyed our conversation. Hopefully, our listeners, readers, could take something with them too, and it means Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will, in a live form, we will talk in this way somewhere next year, whatever, 4th or 5th of January.
Yeah, if this is indeed our last stream of the year, as Maksim said, wishing you all a very happy holiday. And thank you for being with us and subscribing and continuing to tune in, whether it's on our live stream or in our replays. We appreciate the support, and we're looking forward to a very strong 2026 at Santiment, full of a lot of good new features that you guys will be very happy about.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's move forward. And
absolutely.
Also have good times with families and with nature. If the nature around is acceptable to enjoy it.
Well said.
Yep.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining, Maksim. And thank you, Max Balrash, for a year of running great streams for us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Max. The latest setup now, I like it, seems to be, from what I see on the screen, running smoothly, stable, and it's good.
Absolutely.
Good. Talk to you later.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.